Yeah, we've been
Actually, it's
trying.
very, I'm working right now with Michael Capone to do exactly that. Because this had been brought up by the town of Bristol. And there was a big battle over it, but they did something very similar to what we did with the middle school, and that as soon as it got defeated, they never brought it back up again, which is very unfortunate. We also have some very good properties for something like that, so we're looking to bring that back up, and whether it's on the town ballot, but we would be able to get leasing funds from that.
Well, that's my point, is that perhaps as a formal board, now that the phone system issues come up, maybe we should bring that up at the selectmen's meeting that's coming up on the 19th for consideration amongst all the select boards, and maybe Bristol will pick up on it and hopefully enable us to save the district that expense as an emergency expense if we decide to cut it. Because it is a big part of the 630 or 40,000 we need to get.
I gotta throw something in here too. As much as I'm in favor of it, I will throw out the other side of it is, I currently do work with prototyping PBX equipment, and there are changes coming in the next year to 2 years that are gonna change the playing field. So, to do all of our phones right now probably is not a good idea.
Sue?
Well, I was thinking too, if by chance we get the tower, we'll still have to do a lot of our phone updating.
Yeah.
You can't bank on that revenue in this budget anyway.
Yeah.
It's a great idea,
Oh, you
and
could,
it's
but
something
I
we
mean-
could do in the future, of
It's
course.
gonna take some time, but even when you do, you'll still have to do some phone
Well,
updates. And they could be different than
This-
what they would be now.
The cell phone tower is only gonna
Yeah.
increase accessibility in our buildings using cell phones, but it isn't doing anything for the phone system.
That's right.
Right.
So you're still gonna have to do.
It still doesn't allow that lockdown to be activated in the
Right, I mean,
classroom.
you can't run a
which is
building using everybody's cell
important part of
phones.
it.
Yeah.
Is the school allowed to lease the roof out of the middle school
Could you lease it out?
antennas?
You could do anything you
Yeah.
wanted.
And that would be part of some of the items that would be on the table, so we would get direction, we would say,
School is, yeah.
this is the
We
best
determine
places
every
to put
building
these.
is.
And they've done this before, it's not that difficult, we look at all of our property, neutral properties, and say what would be the best and the least property, give you a fight too, so, and then they would look at.
Okay, we have two, sorry, we have two conversations in that section, the first of the two. I'm sorry about this, Ann, but I want to look at the special ed preschool. It's a big chunk of money. So that's in the back of our, and I just want to make sure I have this right before I discuss it anyway. Let's see. The amounts that we have here for the teacher, assuming 5 years, and then 2 paras, supplies, furniture, equipment. There aren't benefits on this page, so I kind of did a rough, right? And then you said if we need to provide in-home services, instead of creating a less restrictive environment, you would recommend speech language, occupational therapy assistant, 1 teacher, and these are all then part-time, plus contracted PT and OP time. So what is the difference, does anybody know, between, because the benefits aren't on here, between what you've proposed for the new preschool and what it would cost to do the in-home visits? Yeah.
The difference between this with benefits. So how much is that, and then I'll add up these, so just what's that?
I'm gonna let you guys figure that out for a minute and revisit Stacy's suggestion. I understand what you're saying, Christine, but I feel like if our superintendent, who's kind of tech savvy for a superintendent, is willing to suggest cutting some tech, then I suspect that you think that we can make do for another year with adding to, but not adding as much to what we have.
Right, so remember, this isn't the tech plan. The
Right.
tech plan of 100 and something thousand is still budgeted.
Right.
This is in addition to that.
Right.
And so while I would love to see it all, at some point, things have to go. And if I have to make a decision between a preschool program, which by law we're required to have, or more technology, I would give up some more technology. You know what I mean? Like at some point, you weigh the difference, and we're still improving and we're still moving forward, albeit maybe even more slowly. But it is not like we're not buying anything. We still have what's in the tech plan plus. If you cut the 42,000 out of that, you still have an additional on top of the tech plan of 70 and 46, so 100 and
116 plus 100 and something already.
right, so you're still talking an additional
$250,000.
$80,000 on top of what is in the tech plan. So if I have to weigh them, I say, well, 80,000 even more than the tech plan is still pretty good.
So what are you suggesting we cut?
She's suggesting 42, 30 from one area and 12 from another, right?
Yeah, to kind of get to the bottom, so I would suggest,
And you
it doesn't,
say-
you could take it off of one or the other, it
Is
doesn't
that
really matter.
The additional needs above tech plan? Is that that?
Right, so yeah,
So 46?
so 46 and then the additional Chromebook card, so however you wanted to divide that up. I mean, we would still probably end up purchasing what we need, we'd just reassess, so so if you cut 20,000 out of Chromebooks, would we actually not buy $20,000 of Chromebooks? We may say, well, you know what, we'll actually buy 10,000 less in Chromebooks because we can cut some of those other, you know what I mean? We would need to play it out, so you can cut however you want, knowing that.
So you're suggesting this 46,500 that's listed, which says additional needs above tech plan.
Right, either that or the other, the Chromebooks.
Or some from each.
Or some from each.
Well,
There's 42,626 you have to come
you know
up
what?
with.
It's all, isn't it all in the same line item? Like, can't you then move within that tech budget, like you just said?
Right, and it probably is.
That's at 46,500?
I can tell you too, that as we move through the year, if we get a contract for transportation, these are all projects that we're pricing out. So if we get savings, they go onto our priority list of things to get. So, and we start breaking down into, all right, what is, for, as far as the administration, here's a list of all our priorities, here's the things that were cut. It's not exactly an ideal way of looking at it, but every year we don't stop looking for efficiencies through whether you purchase something on Amazon, because I mean, think of the thousands of purchases that we're doing. Each teacher's actually going out, they're kind of by doing it this way, they're policing themselves as far as getting efficiencies. So they take a little bit of extra time, but that can equal tens of thousands of dollars.
So to make it easy, I mean, if that is where you wanted to cut, I would just cut it out of the additional needs above the tech plan. You know, I think they're probably all in around the same line.
Yeah.
So what did we need?
We need 42,626.
That's what
So
I come up with roughly 40.
we're up to 650,294. We needed 646,396. So if, I'm gonna reread the list, but this list would get us there.
Can I ask a question really quick
Yeah.
first, though, because I've been trying to figure out how I want to restate this for the third time, but I think you brought up an interesting point when I asked about the roof, and you said that we're going, if we get the $60,000, then that is going, then we could potentially use that toward the roof. That $60,000 will be a warrant item.
Yeah,
Where is that in this then?
it's not.
Which
not-
further supports my question that this budget is a part of the warrant. And the teacher's contract is a part of the warrant, separate articles. It yet to exist in the budget. Okay, so although in all terms of fiscal responsibility, it's great to make all these cuts, but we're trying to cut an additional $305,000 based on a warrant article that hasn't passed yet, that I believe firmly has no bearing on the tax cap. So I just want to say that again, because I think we're now in the position where we've cut another $305,000 that I firmly believe we do not need to cut to stay within the limits of the tax cap, where are we gonna find the 500 some odd thousand dollars to do this kindergarten program?
We may not.
Has to be a separate warrant.
Okay, so then, according to what we're trying to do, according to this sheet, again, I do not believe is accurate and the right way to do it, we'd have to cut $500,000 from
So let me just clarify then. So if the board puts a warrant article on, so the 60,000 that you're talking about would not be in there because it would come from unreserved fund balance. So it would not be additional money that is raised through taxation. It would come from 60,000 we didn't spend at the end of the year. So
It would be a
that's why it
revenue
doesn't,
source.
so that's why it doesn't go on there. The board could not put a warrant article on. If the board chose to put a warrant article on for $500,000 for a kindergarten, you would have to cut the budget by that because again, it's money that's raised by taxation, which gets added to the assessment. So that's the assessment piece of it. What the difference is if a member of the public stands up and makes a motion to add, so it's not a warrant article they're adding. They would make a motion to increase the budget by $475,000 for kindergarten. The public has the right to override the tax cap in that way. The board does not. So if the public stood up and said, we want to add, you can't go up or down more than 10% of your budget, that's the law. But somebody from the public could stand up and say, I want to increase the budget by $600,000 to do full day kindergarten and add $100,000 in technology. They can do that.
Okay.
Does that help?
But
No, I still disagree, but
I want to follow along with
until
what he's
there's a
saying
written
though,
opinion, then that's all.
because I think he may have a valid point. If something is added to the town warrant by petition with the appropriate number of signatures, yes, to the school, can that exceed the tax cap?
I'll have to check, but I don't know, we did not ask that question. We asked how you exceed the tax cap. And so my gut, based on the only way to exceed the tax cap is through somebody at deliberative session. Deliberative session is the only time you can exceed the tax cap. Somebody can vote to do that. I can double check on, if somebody gave us a petition warrant article for $100,000,
If somebody gave us a warrant petition article
I'm thinking it does.
for kindergarten to the tune of $600,000, what happens?
Yeah, my gut is it counts towards your tax cap, but I would want to clarify that. I don't want to.
But at that point, the budget's done. You've already had deliberative session at that point.
No, so a petition warrant article has a deadline, which is before your deliberative session.
Yeah.
You can't give a petition warrant article at any point in time. From the floor, it's not a petition, it's not a warrant article, you're just raising
Right.
the budget.
Right.
But a petition warrant article has a deadline. If you look at that budget timeline, there's a definite deadline that is before your deliberative session.
Yeah,
But then there's the 10% limitation.
Right.
Right.
I think the aggregate is 10% of petitioned articles.
Correct, I
And
believe
from
that
the
is.
floor, anything from the floor.
And-
So there's a lot of room. The other comment I'd like to make is, we go through this every year, strain and worry, try to figure out where we should take this money. And then at the end of the year, we give back several $100,000. We always have an excess. And I think it's because we have trending down population. And as a result, the resources are not necessary. And that's why we do it every year. Tell me a year in the last 9 that we've been here, that we haven't strained over this and then not given back at least $600,000. So I'm willing to bet on that because we have a retained fund balance of $400,000 available for emergencies.
So I also want to follow up on Ben's comment because you said we're cutting 305 in order to pass the teacher contract. Is that what you meant when you said 305? Okay, because we haven't cut that. That would be an additional 305 beyond this 650 that we've cut that we would need to.
No, that number's built into this already.
Right, so the 305 is built into kind of your budget.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, because it has to be. So basically,
Okay.
pretend that warrant article is really part of your budget. It just gets voted on separately. At the end, that actually then will become part of your budget. So your budget number next year, or this year, will be different.
So I'm even happier with that. Okay.
And
where we've ended up. I was trying to figure out where that came from. I'm sorry. So we're at 650, we needed 646. And I want to make a comment about kindergarten. I think that we set 3 goals for the year, and one of them was passing the teacher contract. And even though I like the idea of full-day kindergarten because I want to be fair to all schools and parents, and I think it's right if you have it in one place to have it around, and that it's also going to be good for kids in preparing them. Teresa isn't here, but for the Common Core. I think we shouldn't try to budget it this year, and that what we should do instead is when Stacy sees what the numbers are early in the summer for enrollment after the kindergarten registration, if it's possible to have it full-time at a school because the numbers are low, then we offer it with what we have for existing staff.
No, I disagree.
I can't.
I'm afraid that
For a
these
lot of
2
different
warrant
reasons.
articles will compete with one another.
I don't disagree, but I think that
Don't forget the argument is you
we've
get
got to do
back
something
on the bus.
decent for a change.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, this is the year to improve student outcomes.
But
We've
that
cut
teacher contract
personnel
is
for
also
years,
something
we've
decent.
reduced this, we reduced that. Now that we've got it in a prime position, I think we can afford to do something to work towards paying for improving student outcomes.
So what do you want to do? You
I
want to
wanna
make it a
add
warrant
kin- I
article?
want to add kindergarten.
50,000.
Right, but do you want to make the warrant article?
No, I'd like to have it as part of the budget.
So then we need to cut another $500,000, or at the low estimate.
No, I think we should add it. We may have to do it the other way, but we should add it.
How do you propose that we add it? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, it's gonna have to be a value judgment. There's $1,076,000 on this list. And, you know, I don't see much of it improving student outcome. You know, the other side of that is remember the political argument that could be made at deliberative session. We're giving you back $1 million, that's gonna reduce your taxes. We want a portion of that back to improve student outcomes. And so, I mean, while the board can't do it, I can certainly step down from the board and make a motion from the floor, add $475,000 to fund all-day kindergarten. I don't give up my rights as a citizen just because I'm on the school board. So, or anybody else from the floor could do that.
I gotta say that we need to do something positive. In 2 years I've been on this board, I have seen nothing positive happen that amounted to anything. I've seen a lot of bickering, I've seen a lot of, let's do this and divide up the school district, let's have K-8, let's have K-6, let's cancel this program, let's add that program. And, you know, full-day kindergarten will actually make a difference.
Right, but we have to cut to get there, so
Yeah,
what do you want
and
to cut?
I'm not opposed to cutting.
So-
I want to cut the surplus we're going to end up with next spring.
Okay, but where do you
That we've
find
ended
it?
up with every single year that I've been on this board.
What's your target, 350,000 or 500,000?
Surplus, they're expecting to get
And-
$60,000 back. I can't get the $60,000 if there's no surplus.
There's got to be somewhere close to the high number, because I think it's going to sell big time.
Mhm.
So I'm looking for $500,000,
Okay,
you know, based on Stacy's numbers.
so-
I want to give enough room there. Don't forget, we have the retained fund balance for emergencies.
Right,
Would that be
so,
considered an emergency?
I don't think that's an
No,
emergency.
I'm suggesting that money is available for emergencies.
well, I think, yeah, the roof could be an emergency.
Exactly. That's why we.
But you already
can
cut
it
that.
No, I mean, that could be what we need our emergency money for.
So I guess
Yeah, it's in the number.
so I 100% support support all-day kindergarten. I think it's a great thing. I think it would absolutely 100% help us. But this board is struggling with coming up with cutting another 42,000. Where are you gonna cut another 500,000? Like, this is, like, you can't find another 42,000 to cut. So where are you gonna find 500,000 to cut? Because we still have 42 to get to where we need to be.
No, we reached that goal, Stacy. We reached our goal.
So when did we cut
We
that
ended up with
last?
650 and we needed 646. So we've,
Well,
So what was the last piece you
here,
cut?
you can pass that
The
on.
technology?
Just pass it back.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was, go ahead, Don.
Back to what you were initially saying, that we're giving back
$1 million.
almost $1.4 million to the towns.
We're not giving back $1.4 million, we kept 405,000.
We already,
No, really.
no, I thought we already had 350.
No, the 350 was included in the $1.4 million. We're getting stuck in the forest
So we're
here.
giving back $1 million. And again, if we're selling the teacher's contract, we can sell to the public, let them decide if they want all-day kindergarten, and let them propose adding the 500,000 to the budget. So it's really only costing them indirectly 500,000, right?
So,
You know, they're only getting back 500,000, but,
That would be the net effect. And I would add that I would bet that we would have the 500,000 in savings at the end of the year.
it's possible.
Just seems to
What
happen.
Mike's gonna
I
try to
wouldn't
do.
bet on that
during
personally.
the-
Yeah.
You're gonna.
It's pretty tight.
Well, you
You're
can,
gonna try.
You can bet
They can
me.
get a lot of that.
well,
500.
they said they're writing a budget
Oh,
they intend to spend.
There are no contingencies in this budget.
He's talking
We've
about
lost revenue.
some things that may wind up costing less.
Right, of course, but we're talking about a few
That he
hundred
can't allow.
thousand, so how are we going to make room for that? I'm not sure how what you're suggesting we do.
Let the public propose that in the kindergarten at the deliberative session.
Okay, so we would stop right here. Okay, I got it. Sue?
oh boy, that's a
Well, I think Mike has tried to, and Stacy, have tried to construct a really tight budget. And I can't see there being that much. And some of the funds that we've gotten back in recent years have been one-time things. They're not gonna happen every year. Some of it was stimulus money that we got one year. They gave us a surplus. This year
Is
was
there the health insurance?
a lot of the health insurance money. You can't necessarily count on that. It's kind of a,
They gave you a laundry
Gamble.
list of over $600,000 worth of area in a year that strangely had we got lucky on special ed costs too. So this is not the same year, 2015. So we also don't have $220,000 worth of wage contingencies and health insurance contingencies.
I don't know if I could, later in the meeting, at some point, you'll get to a request for additional para-educators at the middle school, which are also not in next year's budget, because they were new additions that happened after the budget was already prepared. So I think there are things that are likely to come up that aren't good.
Anyone else have thoughts on this?
I think this budget is sized to take care of some problems that have been simmering for a while, not the least of which is fixing the support staff salaries, which we need to do. I think as a result of establishing the facilities committee, we had a challenge here from our list to come up with $600,000 off that list. But every year we're losing students. I just don't understand why it keeps getting more and more expensive. So,
So do you want to go through this list from Stacy again, and look at what hasn't been looked at?
well, we're making the commitment this year, and we shouldn't overlook that $1 million credit that we're giving to the taxpayers as a means to fund this. And not to get into another agenda item, but there's no way that I'm going to be in favor of telling everybody in this district that it's okay for you to pay $20,000 for every student that goes to this school, but we're going to let Hill come in at $9,000.
Yeah, that's not, we've never given them a price, so that's not right for you to give a price to the public right now.
I understand. That's why I didn't want to go there.
Yeah, I just didn't,
Good
so
idea.
I gotta correct you on that.
The cost isn't 20,000.
Right.
It's damn near that.
Not even close, actually.
That's
Okay,
just what.
let's
Okay,
continue
wait a
with
minute,
this.
wait a minute. We got 1,158 students. What's the budget at now? Give me a number.
No, you're asking him for a number for simple division, and
Yeah.
part of the budget is tax revenue
Yeah, I
paid for.
understand that. I
Right,
understand
it's
that. But
not.
you divide the number of students into the total budget, what do you get?
So I think we're talking about the budget. I
Yeah.
think that's the
Yeah.
focus.
So let's continue with,
It's damn close to 20,000.
but that's not what we're talking about right now.
It's a very
So we have to
complicated.
finish what we're talking about right now, which is, do you want to cut anything else?
Well,
Transportation,
I don't
all
know,
sorts of.
I guess, where are we really at realistically with moving forward with a budget to present to the budget committee? And I say that from this perspective, that I think there's been some discussion, but I think there's some discussion that needs to be had and a decision that needs to be made as far as if we are going to move forward as a board with full kindergarten for this year. Which very likely is going to mean that if that's an affirmative, that we're gonna have to make more cuts. I don't,
Unless it's a warrant article, which Dawn is suggesting put it on a warrant article.
well, but
can't-
what we've
You can't.
heard.
Oh, I
yeah,
am sorry.
Have somebody from the
Have somebody
public.
from the public propose it, you're right. So we can have that discussion right now?
I think it is.
Yeah? What are your thoughts?
What are mine?
Yeah.
Well, I have two big concerns. I obviously believe there's a value, and I believe there's a very large positive value. I think that there's two big issues. The first is that how many parents are going to want to put their kids into a full-day kindergarten, but would rather keep them in a half-day situation for whatever the reason may be. And I think that goes into the planning stages for this. Now, we've heard in regards to senior projects, let's not just stop, we need to put some time and effort and study, and we've heard the same thing about kindergarten from the superintendent. But I think there's obviously a lot of factors to me, and some of them you'll never account for, because you won't get complete buy-in to a survey, and you won't get all the answers that you need. But what I look at is really a $250,000 low number to a $507,000 high number. There's a lot of questions in there that I think need to be discussed and figured out beforehand. And those are my two big concerns with it. I don't think.
What's your feeling about whether or not there's time to get those answers in time to present the budget?
There is not. I think if you want those answers, I'm not saying that you can't present it with the budget, and we can pick one of the numbers and move forward with it as a group, but what I'm saying is if we want to do it correctly and not continue to get ourselves into because I think if we approve $500,000, I'm of the belief, probably very different from everybody else on the board, that we're going to return $250,000. That's my opinion. So do we do that and continue to put ourselves in that position? And then, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would rather have better answers that say, when you ask for 300, you're at 280 or 320, as opposed to asking for 500 and either needing 250 or 750.
Yeah. Jeff?
I think we should do it, and we should fund it at $250,000. If that's not enough money, then we're gonna have to find the money from other areas of the budget and transfer funds. But with as much as we've been turning back, and as much time as we have during the year to tighten the belt, I think we can do it for $250.
That sounded like a motion that I'd second.
Ruby, can I
Well,
just?
I'm not sure what that motion would be. Go ahead.
So I just want to add,
15 cut.
just so with the fund return, so I just want to point out that we were not responsible for those budgets. I have no idea what was in those budgets. You had significant contingencies in those budgets that you would have expected to turn back if you didn't use them.
And we don't have.
This year's budget is tight already. I can tell you that it is likely, Mike and I are working hard to get good costs, and we will not be looking to return that much money. And this was a budget based on the fact that we had zero, Mike was here for 2 weeks when we built the budget, so it's a lot of level funding. This budget we created, I can tell you, is very tight. It is what we need, so I guess I just want to make sure that we're not expecting to give back another $1 million, because as years have gone on and as we have gotten into the budget, we are very conservative in what we're budgeting. So the expectation that we're gonna give back $1 million continuing may not be there.
And I don't have that expectation. My expectation is that we can run it on a shoestring, for lack of a better term. We can be very efficient and very, cautious about our money. And if we run a little short, we can find somewhere else in the budget. There's a lot of elective expenses that we put off till the end of the year that could be transferred over in an emergency. I don't think there's a risk of us blowing the budget.
So you're suggesting we find $250,000 in additional cuts?
Yeah.
John?
Agree with Stacy. Come up with what they think is the bare minimum.
If we have kindergarten at Bristol, does that mean we don't have preschool at Bristol? Because they're the same rooms that we're talking about?
Yeah, that would be if we needed the third classroom. If we needed the third classroom, then we would likely take over some other space. I mean, again, I need to dive in beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah. Sue?
I don't agree with doing it this year. I think it would be some kind of a hurry move. I don't think it would be done properly.
Okay, then I'm actually going to call for a motion so we can vote on whether or not to cut an additional $250,000. Do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
So technically, the motion probably should be to fund kindergarten at such and such a level.
Yes, at $250,000. To fund full-day kindergarten across the district at $250,000.
Second.
With an increase of 250.
Okay,
Yes.
so there's a motion by Jeff to fund a full-day kindergarten across the district at $250,000, second by Vincent Paul. Now, any other discussion before there's a vote? Christine?
Quick question. How do the principals feel about this?
Good question.
So I think that they would all say they 100% support all-day kindergarten. But I didn't ask them at what expense.
There's part-time, it's part-time at Bridgewater now, right?
It's, so right now, they fill just a half a section,
So
half a
why,
day.
you would need an additional full teacher? on
So
that?
just based on their historical numbers are around, so right now we're at 17 or 18.
Yeah.
And so if that bumps up to 25 or 20, although Terry's telling us there's no kids in Bridgewater. But, so that would be that additional, if it got over 20. Just because we're right, it's why we also didn't reduce that position, because we hover around that 22, 23, 19.
But we have a full-time kindergarten teacher, we just only have a half-time kindergarten.
Half-time, right,
So we were
Just
already
have one
paying a staff
section.
member, same thing in New Hampton.
right,
So we've got 2 full-time kindergarten teachers, both teaching half-days right now of kindergarten.
correct.
You figured that out,
So
right?
it's possible
Yeah.
that we may not add any staff at those 2, depending on those numbers.
But well, you would have to add back the New Hampton part-time, because we cut that.
Yes.
So,
right.
because it's a full-time,
But I mean,
and those numbers have been
in terms of new
consistently
hires,
just,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, I know the 30's scary, but it looks like it was an anomaly, but they do happen anyway. Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, just a comment. I don't know of anything that, else that this board could do to improve student outcomes. It's absolutely guaranteed. Not next year, but over a period of time. I've not seen a school board do anything like that in the recent past, to the best of my recollection. There may be exceptions. We've always done it piecemeal. This would be a dramatic additional item to having put a curriculum coordinator in place and to have started with and to put Stacy in place to make all the personnel changes that have brought me to the point where I think it's now time for us to do this. That's very different than what I've said in the past. I've wanted to pare all the fat out of the budget, personnel-wise in particular, support staff in particular, medical insurance. I think we've done enough of that, and now we can finally do something to actually improve student outcomes. Guaranteed. This isn't a what if, it's a guarantee. We're giving back $1 million. This can be sold. The other possibility that comes to mind is we've taken, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we've taken about $650,000 out of this, right?
Yep, 650,000.
Okay, so that leaves approximately $500,000 left, or $400,000 left.
Out of this list, you mean?
Out of this list, right? So what if we did, similar to what Jeff had asked earlier, to get $250,000 out of the rest of the list that is really facilities oriented, and yes, it improves the facilities, I don't deny that. What if we took out of that $400,000 left an across the board percentage that would give us the $250,000 out of this list, working backwards into whatever that would be? Speaking in favor of the motion. That's a way to get there.
My one concern about that broad approach is that at the bottom of this, we have salary increases for people that are in the, this is the second half of those salary increases.
Paraeducators and specialists, 150,000.
Yes, actually, that's true, and as a result of that, then we'd have to delete those numbers from the calculation and end up with less still for facilities.
250.
Yeah. Sorry, that's true. That would need to have to come out, because I want to fix the personnel.
And finish what we started.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Good catch.
Anyone else?
I keep thinking about a conversation that I had with a kindergarten teacher who was part-time and then piloted for a year a full day program, and then the entire school went full day. And so I said to her, "What do you think of the full day?" And she goes, "I would never go back." She goes, "My kids are at a level of understanding that exceeds anything that a half day can do." So that is going through my mind, but I'm very concerned about, again, that finding that money to cut, and I don't want it to compete against the teachers. So.
Yeah. This isn't all facilities on the list either. When you just reduce, when you take like the approximate 400,000 and you subtract out those proposed salary increases, there are 190,000 of it. So if you're just doing math, that leaves about 210, which would mean finding another 40. But these aren't all facilities on here. So
That would be taking everything that's left on here.
all right, but then now you've got to get to, there's 2 staff requests at the top. There's actually 3 staff requests at the top. So these aren't just stuff.
No, but I'm saying, everything that's left on the list has to be deleted
Right, so.
to come up with the 250.
And more.
Well, you even included beyond the 150. So I don't see how we can do that.
Okay, well, so I'm gonna call the question, unless somebody has anything else to say. So Sue,
No.
Vincent Paul,
Yes.
Ben,
No.
Jeff,
Yes.
Don,
No.
Christine.
Abstain.
What do we do if there's a tie?
It fails.
Okay. Yes, it's a tie, it doesn't matter, it failed. So, now what? Are we done?
I'd like to move to reconsider that question.
Is there a second to?
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, can you explain why?
Well, I think we're elected to serve the public, and I think they want us to make a decision on their behalf. And I guess I'd like to get everyone to make a choice.
Christine?
So since I seconded it, and I think that is directed towards me because I didn't make a decision, I want more before I make a decision that is as substance, as that, with that much substance. I want either more discussion on how we can achieve that before we make that vote.
Okay, let's have that discussion. Yes, go ahead, Steph.
So, again, I 100% support this. The board, if you don't pass it this year, it doesn't mean it has to go away. It might mean over this next couple of months, we try to get the data, we look at it, we really develop it, we talk to the public and make sure the public supports it. We have had some people say they don't support it. So what is the general consensus of our public? And look at it for the budget process next year where you can make plans for that. We can think about it. As we budget, we think about that in mind and do it systematically versus between one meeting and another.
I'm not against it. I'm
Right.
for it 100%. It's just, we're talking some dollars here that I don't want to have affect something else negatively in the run.
Yeah.
We're talking about a number that's not even definite. It's just a number that we kind of forced Stacy to come up with. I mean, this number was, it isn't really based on a lot of research or facts. It's an estimate. So I don't really know if it's going to be 200 or 500. I think really that to jump into something before we know exactly what we're doing and how much it's going to cost, I think is a mistake. I think if you're going to do it, you should do it the right way.
I look at it as just like a household budget. You can only make so much money, and sometimes you get down to the bottom line and things just have to happen, and you have to pay for that root canal. And you don't have a choice, and you've got to make hard decisions. I think that we can find this moment. I think that if we don't do it now, it'll get pushed down the road, and it won't happen.
Okay, you're gonna have to suggest where we find it.
What I'd like to do,
So you have a motion to reconsider, so.
But she
Well-
asked for discussion, so.
and what I think I would like to do is organize the adjustments that we've made to the budget already and have a fresh look at where, because the list you gave us pulls out of so many different places in the printed budget that we have. It's starting to get confusing.
Can I suggest some things? Because I just went through and looked at things that we haven't touched that are on the list, and so I just want the public to know this is a list of possible cuts from the superintendent. I'm not saying that you want these all cut, but as places for us to save money, she has suggested these. So I'm just going to tick off what I just added up. There's additional Chromebook carts, the office software, those are right together. Then about 5 lines down, general supplies level fund them. General supplies level fund them. 3 lines down, new equipment level fund that. 2 lines down, new equipment not recommended by IT, which is a very small dollar amount, I can't grant you, but 3 lines down, we have level fund. Then new tech not in plan, 4,000. Then replacement equipment level fund. Then new laminator. And then finally, almost at the end of the numbered items, we have athletic supplies level fund. So these are all just saying, for the most part, funded at what we did last year. That finds us $113,825. The bulk of that is out of technology, but there you have a suggestion for a place to start if you're looking.
I guess if I had to choose between Chromebooks and kindergarten, I'd take the kindergarten.
One other comment that occurs to me, you know, the superintendent created the budget from the bottom up. And in prior years, we have wimped out as a board, for lack of a better term. But a way to get there was to direct the superintendent to come up with a $250,000 savings. Since she knows the budget in great detail, and it's analogous to asking her to take a percentage from all of the categories that would be available beyond what she's striven to assist us with on this list already. So that is also a way to get there.
I'll decline that opportunity.
I was just going to say, that also doesn't address Christine's concern, which is she wants to know where we're getting this money before she casts a vote. Go ahead, Sue.
Well, we also have advice from the superintendent who knows about a lot more things than the budget. We have advice to do this, if we're going to do it properly, with some, a little bit of research as to how we should do it. And we have the half-day thing, the half-day issue, how are we going to do that? Should we do that? Where should we do it? There are a lot of things up in the air. I don't think that we can make this kind of decision in an evening without any type of real study. We're going to ask Stacy to come up with ways to get this money when she's already advised us that we shouldn't do it yet.
And she favors it.
And she
just
favors
wants
it.
to do it
Yes.
right.
We'd like to do it
Honestly, if
right.
you're gonna do it right. And I guess, and this is no disrespect to the board, but you know I will speak my mind as much as I often can, is a month, so I've been here for a year and a half. Up till 1 month before this, full-day kindergarten was never even discussed. So how did we go from one meeting to the next that it is vital and can't live without it? That it has not ever, in my recollection, been even a conversation around this table. So I just throw that out.
That's true. I don't deny that. But, you know, Obamacare was passed without Congress even reading the damn bill.
Probably not a good idea. So there you go, so, done.
So
You couldn't get a copy of it, and it changed every weekend.
what I'm suggesting that we do here is provide some leadership from the school board to take a route to improve student outcomes. That's what I'm suggesting. And a way to get there is to ask the superintendent for further help. One year, we directed the superintendent to come up with a way to save $250,000. And she came up with a solution, which was to move the 5th grade to the middle school. And that was a close vote. That was a close vote. It went 4-3.
I think that if you're looking for us to exercise leadership, passing it off to her is not exercising.
Well,
leadership.
it's easy to say that. What I'm suggesting is I'm asking for the additional help to get us there. She knows the budget far better than each of us individually, and that is a way to get us there.
I think that we could make some additional cuts, and we could refund the position at New Hampton, and back to what I said before, let her look at the numbers when we do kindergarten registration in May, and see where and if it can be offered full-time next year, do it where it can be, and then in the next budget cycle, look at doing it everywhere. Yes, I said, I think we can find some additional cuts, like through some of the items I just listed. Put back in the New Hampton Community School position so that it's full-time instead of cutting it to half-time. And then after kindergarten registration in May, offer full-time where we can. And then next fall, look at making sure it's offered everywhere in the next budget round.
Is that a possibility?
If you,
It's a suggestion. Go ahead, Sue.
if you wait until after registration, these people are registering for half-day. So is that number going to change if you only offer full day, which is probably what's going to happen in these schools?
Stacy, what do you want to say?
I would say the biggest concern that I would have with offering it where we can would be we will get requests from all other schools to go to the other schools. So we will get, every parent from Bristol will request to go to New Hampton
But none
for a
of
full
them has
day.
to come to Danbury for full day kindergarten.
Oh, we get a lot of calls.
Do you?
Oh, absolutely. So that would be my concern is how do you make that decision
Yeah.
of who would then get full day and who would get half day?
Yep.
I think it also would put the one school that probably is our lowest income, our most neediest students with the half-day program.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking equity, is that equitable?
Right.
So those are just some things that if the board went that direction, you would really, we'd have to 100% say, if you're a New Hampton resident, you're going to New Hampton and nobody else.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, how are we gonna make that decision?
Yeah. So we further disadvantage the kids who are already disadvantaged. Yeah.
So those would be my two concerns with doing that. Could you do it? Absolutely. But those, we'd have to kind of set some really hard, fast rules around who would be able to go to those full-day programs.
There's a very good reason why schools spend almost a year just doing community studies, surveys. I mean, it's not because they don't want the programs.
Right.
It's because they want to implement it successfully. I mean, there's people that spend more time picking their furniture in the living room than this kind of a process. And you don't really get all the pieces. You can't discuss them at this meeting, and it's very superficial.
Anybody else? Christine, do you feel like you have enough information to vote?
Yeah. I guess so.
Okay. All right, I'm going to call the question then. So the motion was to reconsider the motion to fund kindergarten all day, district-wide, at $250,000. And so
The motion is to reconsider, or the
No.
motion is to vote on that same thing again? Is that?
Actually,
Should we
technically,
consider
you
that
need to
same
vote
thing?
on your reconsideration first.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, so for that one, I'm just going to do an I vote. The motion to reconsider.
Right.
Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Hey,
2 nays from Don and Ben. Any abstentions? Okay, so 5 yes, 2 no. Okay, so now I can call this new question, which is the actual reconsideration.
Somebody has to make a motion.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
It's my original motion, I'll make it again.
Okay, go ahead.
Second.
At the cost again, 250?
Yes.
Motion by Jeff, second by Vincent Paul. So the motion is to fund all-day kindergarten at $250,000 district-wide by Jeff, second by Vincent Paul. Okay, so now I'm call roll. Sue,
No.
Vincent Paul,
Yes.
Ben,
No.
Jeff,
Yes.
Dawn,
No.
Christine.
Hardest decision ever, no.
Okay. And, oh, yes, I'm yes again, but the motion fails. 4-3. Okay. Are we done with the budget?
Apparently.
Okay. So I'll just reiterate then what we have found. Sorry, what?
Answer the preschool question.
Oh, sure. Why don't you share that with me? It's been a long time. Preschool, the difference between...
If all 3 staff take insurance, the
Mhm.
saving, and we would save about $20,000 by doing the in-home services.
Okay, that's not that significant. What do you guys think?
What was the original question?
I know, it has been a long time. My original question for her was, what's the difference between us offering this additional preschool at Bristol Elementary and us providing these services in-home or in daycare center? I do have another concern, which is about the impact on the daycare centers, but I just wanted to know, is there a potential savings there by offering the services traveling? I think it's 20,000.
So if the board has settled on a budget, you should make a motion to approve that budget to go to the budget committee.
Yeah.
And that number is $20,134,617.
20,140 what?
$20,134,617, if I've done my calculations correctly.
Okay, well, before we, I'm not sure if we're completely settled, because we've just got this piece of information. Anything else that anybody else wants to?
Did we agree on everything in the back here?
We've actually not agreed on this list, we haven't taken a vote on this list, but that would be part of
Oh, right.
this motion. So first, I just want to know if everyone is really done with their suggestions before we take that vote. The silence tells me we might be.
What was the number we're at?
The number that would go forward, you mean?
Yeah.
20,134,617.
So did that get us there or not really?
Yep,
That gets us there.
$3,874 over where you need to be.
3,000 better than where we need to be,
Right.
she means, not over.
Right.
We don't have 3,000 more to go. I'm just gonna double check, Stacy. just
Yep,
double check
absolutely.
them out. So,
46.5 on the additional aids of the tech fund.
3,000, we could go back to that if you want.
all right, so am I looking at fiscal year 16 school board budget
Right, so
as the amount to deduct our cuts from,
no,
right?
because then you have to add in the 12,137 or the 38,373.
So it's the 21,039 below that with the plus warrant articles? What number
So
am
look
I?
at the school year, the FY16 school board budget, the line above it,
Mhm.
2734, that's your Fund 10 budget.
Right?
So you're gonna add into that the 12,137 and the 38,373, for a total of 20,784,887.
20,784,000, is that what you said?
Yeah, 784,887.
And now I'm taking away what we cut, right?
Correct.
21,34593. So I'm off from you by $14.
So I have the total amount in cuts is 650,270.
650,294. Is that what you said? I just want to know the amount right for the motion. Oh. No, it's $24 difference. 17.7.
Oh, yeah.
So $24 somewhere. I'll double check my total too.
I think it's going to be doing because it's 270 still.
Ruby, for the admin raises, did you have 21,877?
Yes. Now I've lost my place.
You could add back, you could go right to the tax cap budget and add back the difference right into, the back into technology.
Hold on. I don't know what you mean, but don't, let me add
Make
first.
it easy on you.
So it's 650,294, so let me pass over my list.
Yeah, let me just look it up. Here's the difference, yeah, so. So the retirement changes are 129, I think you just rounded up, 129,476, as opposed to 129.
Okay. I don't know, that,
Which was 20, were we off $24?
yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, so then your total is correct?
Yeah.
Right, okay. All right, so I make a motion that we pass this budget at $20,134,617. Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, I'm gonna do roll call on this because it's a big amount of money. So, Sue?
Yes.
Vincent Clough?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Me, yes. Jeff?
I'm going to abstain.
Don?
Yes.
Christine? Yes. Okay, so 6 yes, 1 abstention being Gretchen. Okay, we're actually now on to new business. First item of, I know, amazing. First item of new business is the letter from Hill, which is in the packet. in here too, so. Stacy has spoken with the board chair, sort of, what they're interested in achieving through a meeting, and we do know that they are in discussion with another district. So there's not just us, but I'm just going to tell you what my immediate response to this letter is. My immediate response is, yes, let's get together, but we have a 3-person committee, and that 3-person committee should be meeting with their 3-person board to have this conversation.
And that was, so I did speak to the chair when we got the letter about that, and I think they were trying to do it far more informally, and I advised her that I would not advise our board to do it informally, that there's a subcommittee, that this is a public process of negotiations, it's not a non-public matter, it's negotiating a contract, and so therefore it is public. And that I would recommend to the board that our 3-member committee meet with their board or their subcommittee of whoever that would be, that they decided to be part of that process.
And we have the formula that we proposed, so we really would just have to have that price calculated based on that formula. What do you think?
I felt that the subcommittee should be meeting with them, but also don't object to having Mike along with us.
Yeah, because something might, come up that we can't answer. But yes,
Yeah,
I agree, again, a
assume
public
they would
meeting.
want
And
the 2 individuals that they identify as well.
oh, I thought they only identified one. I put my letter away. It was the gentleman who was here tonight.
Well, there was a special advisor too.
That's him.
That's him.
Yeah.
And then there was the business administrator.
He's their former business administrator.
I got it wrong.
So that's why they want him. He's working for them now.
No, it's between our, no, okay. it's
Between your,
business administrator
Their Mike and our Mike, yep.
And our special.
Yep.
Okay. So that,
I mean, because we did agree on a proposal, so that's the proposal, we have a price in our meeting.
Well, the negotiation though, does not mean you have to go with that proposal at all.
Right, so
That's the whole point of a negotiation, just like when you go into negotiations with the teachers union. You don't say, well, that was our first proposal, and that's it. Like Mike said, this meeting, I strongly recommend you consider this, because this opportunity has, in over 50 years, has
Madam
not
Chair,
arisen.
point of order.
Well, I'd like to let him finish this sentence. Yes.
I'm just trying to emphasize the importance and the rarity of an opportunity like this. Not that you need to go either way on this, but to consider it thoroughly and actually enter into a formal negotiation. I agree that the format you're discussing is a good one.
Okay, yes, sorry. Still a point to make.
Can you remind me who the members of the committee are?
Myself,
Right?
Dawn, and Ben.
Ben,
Yep.
okay. So the committee will meet with Hill and talk about the vote we took, which included the proposal that we made. So in contrary to Mr. Lamani's comments about negotiating it, this board took a vote that said that it would include the Franklin formula as part of it. And I am hard pressed to support this because the number that we